yes, we've just about exhausted, as I'm sure, you know, everybody has, right? I mean, that's been like the talk of the last 3 or 4 years, right, is manpower and help. We have kind of exhausted the human resource, we feel like, in the immediate area, and now we're working currently on trying to gain attention from outside the area. So I guess it's kind of like, Sheila, it's kind of like what you're talking with the businesses, but we need to draw the people. Now, perhaps the business draw would be the foundation for drawing more people, right? And I mean, I think that's plausible. I think that's a good theory. As far as challenges, you know, it's mostly the people. We start wage at $15 an hour, which is almost $2 above minimum, but minimum's going up, right?
Yeah.
Right off. Our night shift, we pay a $2.50 adder, you know, for that would get a young person at 18 years old, you know, to $17.50 an hour. We work 48 to 50 hour a week. You know, that would put you know, a young person making $41,000 annually the first year of employment. Full benefits, insurance, eye care, short-term, long-term disability, retirement, and for single coverage, very reasonable. Our family coverage is obviously a little bit more money. You know, so we feel that they're very marketable jobs. They're hard work, you know, but nothing is, you know, but sometimes you have to work hard, especially when you start off, right? So
it seems like with everything you're saying, it shouldn't be hard for you to fill those positions.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Right? You would think it wouldn't be a problem, but and it's part of the reason why I came tonight. We're looking, there's some of us inside, we're corporately owned now by a Fortune 500 company called UFP, and I myself am looking to kind of change the role of the mill in the community. Recently we did a football fundraiser with the AYS, they needed uniforms. We had a nice donation there. We're currently, Suzanne and I are working on a fundraiser for the soccer team. The Spruce Mountain High School soccer team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the end of the month, September 30th, we're doing a cornhole fundraising event up to French Falls. So we're real excited about that. And Palette One, again, gave another sizable donation to that. So I'm looking to increase our street presence in the community and try to be more active. This is my home community. We live in Jay, but same. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the climate right now. As far as issues or requests, or we could use a little more police presence on the weekends. You know, we don't run typically on the weekends, and we have one older gentleman who's a nighttime watchman for us. He comes and goes, and we still have a lot of fun business, and it's a huge property. We've made some recent changes with fencing, and most recently we've had about a $150,000 lighting project. You guys that go by, you probably notice it now, but it's lit up like a football field, which helps. But you know, we could still use a little bit more help there.
And have you communicated that with the town, I assume?
I don't know as I have. I believe somebody has, though, because they've been patrolling for speeders in the morning very recently within the last couple of weeks, which is good, because we're constantly going back and forth across the road, and Bill does a great job with setting up the crosswalk and maintaining that, but it's still, you know, just a public awareness, but people have been speeding through that area for a long time, so it's going to be difficult to curb. But yeah,
Well, thank you.
I mean, I think going forward, I think that we could, you know, something could get started with like a committee. I think I could garner some involvement from our end for sure.
Very good.
Yeah, and I was kind of, there's nobody here from Vortex, or that's
We
Livermore.
made that contact. I don't remember, Deb, did you say? Yeah.
I did, I called, but I didn't get a confirmation back, so.
Okay.
But it may be something that we
Yeah,
can still
and
do.
how about Tyler Canova?
We
Tyler
talked about
Gnovich.
We talked about it, I
Contacting
contacted
him.
Paul.
Yeah, I think.
I was supposed to contact him and I neglected to.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyler's
So
gaining,
we can- yeah.
Tyler's gaining a lot of momentum with the community.
He is.
You could also look at there's a drafting company halfway up the hill, and I don't know their name.
Oh, Maine.
Minuteman.
Yeah, I thought we were contacting him too.
Minuteman.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like he's got a lot of neat things going on there. Also, Brian Barker is doing a lot of interesting stuff down. I think that's kin to yours, Tom. Is that?
Nephew. A nephew.
Yeah, Brian's doing a lot of interesting stuff down there.
So we said Vortex and Tyler.
Yeah, and I tell you, who's also doing well is Billy Putnam and Ryan at the sawmill, Dimension Lumber. They're making a move into trying to do some retail lumber,
Mhm.
you know, like 2x4s and 2x6s and stuff like that, buying and reselling, and Ryan's real excited about that.
Good
Yeah.
to know. And we've got to somehow make it more effective when we reach out to these folks to get them here.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't think I introduced myself, I don't know if I need to, but I am Sheila Lyman, and I'm the representative for this district, for Livermore Falls, and most of Livermore. So, who's the next business that wants?
Sheila, I know this is low, the maintenance, you know, problems for, you know, and trying to get businesses to come to Livermore, you know, Jay,
Yeah.
the Tri-Town.
Right.
But is it possible that we ask questions like, you know,
Oh, certainly.
of business problems?
Yeah.
I mean, getting them here is one thing, but being able to retain businesses is another thing.
Exactly.
And, you know, and because he's talked about the workers, but I was kind of interested how Pellet One was doing. Your energy costs must be going through the roof, and, but you didn't.
Well,
mention-
yes, the electricity is.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate, you know, we have several pricing contracts as far as propane
Yeah.
and fuel. You know, that stuff we can do relatively well in bulk. Electricity would be our number one, and I don't do a lot with utilities. I'm focused more on production
Okay.
and employee folks. We actually make our own heat with a sawdust boiler, with a hardwood sawdust boiler, so that, you know, we benefit from that. So we don't play a lot in the energy field right now, but we've explored several options over the last 10 years, you know, from solar to diesel generator to stuff like that. But our waste is profitable for us. So for us to take that waste stream and put it into like a heating source, you know, it actually hits us on both ends. So we've studied it, and times it's always been found to stay with public utilities and not lose the revenue stream on our waste.
And
It changes constantly.
And no problem with log material, getting log.
Not now. We were battling that. It's always a battle. You know, so we have a saying in our business. It's called the 3 M's of business: materials, marketing, and manpower. And usually 2 are good and 1 is bad, or sometimes they're all bad, right? You're always struggling in one area, so it seems. But right now our raw material is good because of the changes that's happening. So that's short-lived. We don't know how long, and steel costs are down for our nails. So we only really have 2 raw materials: nails and logs.
So of the 3 M's, the manpower is your
Yep.
biggest struggle right now?
Right now, yes. Yep. And markets right now currently are gonna be. We're seeing a lot of So we manufacture and sell just under 50,000 pallets a week. Yeah, that's what we run. 85% of that business is Massachusetts and South. So the competition base is real tight down there right now. We don't see a lot of competition here in Maine and New Hampshire, but we don't do a lot of business here in Maine and New Hampshire. So the markets now, we've had to give a lot of price recessions over the last 6 to 8 months. So things are getting a little tighter on markets, but we're always a profitable business. We're very fortunate. We're well run and we're long established.
That's a good
Yep.
point, thanks.
Yeah, but that's definitely can ask anything.
Anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
You say you have 165 employees, what would you like to see? How many?
180. would be ideal.
Mhm.
We still have one department that's pretty much not even manned right now. That department could house about 12 to 15 people. So we were, during the heart of the crunch here, we were down into, 140, 135
Oh, wow.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we, and I mean, I have some thoughts on it, personal thoughts, but I believe what's hurting us in this area is the marijuana business. And I say that not out of disrespect for people's habits or whatever, but for us, we're competing with that employee. We're competing for that group of the public. Okay? The guys that, maybe struggle a little bit, maybe have a little bit of a criminal past. Not college, they didn't take college classes in high school. They graduated high school just barely and they hit the workforce. Well, the marijuana industry, we believe, has taken that demographic, and it's taken it right out of the people that we have to work with. And it's quite a phenomenon. I don't know, but because it's after COVID, everybody would say, where did the people go, right? Where are the workers? Where are the people? And I think they went into that industry. I really do.
I think they stayed home.
I think it's.
45% of the workforce in the state of Maine is not working. That's factual.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we're kind of combating for that.
Yeah.
And this area is it's quiet. I mean, it's remote. There's just not a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
I was going to say, the other thing that, I should back up and say, I was the adult ed director here in town for 13 years previously, and the biggest issue we had with, getting learners to come to the learning center and to get them employed and get them into services and everything was transportation. A lot of them just couldn't get a ride, to the learning center, so that was huge. And the other issue was daycare. We got as many folks as we could into, Head Start and, got them the services they needed. But so that was another problem. And I know, there aren't a lot of daycares right now anyway. And any daycare that there is available has a huge waiting list. So that's just food for thought as well.
Thank you. And another business that would like to talk to us about what's going on with them? Yeah.
You mentioned my nephew Brian. I would like to put a plug in for him. He's an engineer and has contacts all over the world. He claimed that he was one of about 5 on the planet that did what he did. How true that is, I don't know.
But what did he do?
He does software for machines, mostly. The reason I bring him up is that he showed me an idea on how to help students understand the need to stay in school. I would like to see at least one of the 3 of you hit him hard for the ideas. He was approaching the schools, he approached the planning board. The planning board is just not set up to handle what he wanted to do. I think that his ideas need support from the state level. And
Well, he's a neighbor, so I certainly can pop in, and he's been to my house before, I believe, hasn't he? Yeah. So that's something I could.
He's got some really far-reaching ideas. I don't want to talk about them and spoil his thunder,
fine.
but I would give him a big plug.
Okay, thank you. I wrote it down, and I'll make it a point to see him. Okay, and so who else do we have here for business? Kenny and Kendra, what would you say to us about what would help this area? Since Kenny was closing and now he's open.
Well, I mean, the same way the gentleman from Pallet One spoke, the pool of workforce isn't there. We were looking to hire, let's be honest, we've been looking to hire somebody for the last, 7 years? But, no, from February, when the guy that had been working for us quit, till, 2 weeks ago, we hadn't been able to find anybody. And you know, there's nobody out there that wants to work, there's nobody out there that, you know, wants to be self-employed. The workforce that is out there wants to punch time clock and not have the responsibility of, you know, business ownership or, you know, that kind of thing. And one of the big challenges we had when we moved up here was rent. You know, trying to find an affordable place in a ghost town to rent was non-existent. I mean, we looked at where, I think it was originally where US Cellular was, wasn't it? H&R Block is in there now or whatnot, and that outfit was owned out of, what was it, South Portland or something like that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right
No.
here, yeah.
Peachy Road is
Out of Augusta, and no,
home.
they wouldn't even call us back. And then we talked to Bobby Bear's company at the time, you know, to get up in J Plaza, and they were priced right out of sight. I don't even remember what it was, but you had to pay by the square foot of the space you were renting, and you had to pay heat, you had to pay electric, and, you know, it's just, for a small business, there's a reason why these places are full of Dollar General and H&R Block, and, you know, they've priced it out of the realm of the small family-owned business. You know, we're in a place that we don't particularly like, you know, it's not fun to haul the appliances up and down the stairs, but our landlord is local, he lives in Wilton, you know. When we told him, hey, you know, your building's been sitting vacant for 5 years, this is what we can pay you, he was like, yeah, that puts something towards the property taxes. But these big corporate property management groups, they don't care that those buildings are sitting empty, and I don't know what can be done to change that, but there's an awful lot of empty space around here that could be utilized, you know, for bringing businesses in.
So we have different dynamics from a business that employs a lot more to self-employed or very, you know, less than 10 workers, the dynamics of that. And Kenny and I actually met with a business owner in town last week, and she described something very similar where she tried to inquire into renting the space and it was too much, she couldn't do it, and the folks that bought it actually are from Massachusetts, and they said, wow, it's on Main Street in Livermore Falls, Main Street, and she said, I don't think you realize that, you know, I can offer you this and I'll be in that space working. And he ended up calling her back, I think, what'd you say, like 6 months later or something, and she's in that space for now anyway. So you bring up different examples, but both our workforce and then the rent issue. You know, I don't know.
And I think there's also something to be said. I know that, I think I remember it this time around when you ran, or the last time, there was a big push on vocational stuff. And, you know, from a business demographic that is a service industry for a manufactured good that is destined to fail at some point, you know, there has been a huge push at the vocational school level, whether it's Foster Tech, you know, the community college level, for HVAC, for automotive, for all this stuff. And, you know, your other, people are always going to have to wash clothes, people are always going to have to keep their food cold. You know, there's a whole, and you figure each house has, what, 5 to 7 appliances? You know, a family has 2 cars, you know? So I think needs to be a little bit more on the vocational level of, you know, service industries that aren't automotive, that aren't HVAC, that aren't nursing. You know, there's so many other options out there that, you know, kids at that age don't even think about because they live in their parents' house with, you know, the refrigerator that fixes itself. You know, that they just don't tap into that.
Thank you. Anything else that you would add as far as the challenge of the biggies? Mr. Castonway? I don't put anybody on the spot.
The biggest problem I got is like Ken, we're old. And we're still, my business took off COVID. It's unbelievable. More people, raising their own stuff, but, you know, there's not, you don't hear too many places like mine being built because of the cost. And so we're doing what we can, and could I do more? Probably could, but, you know, 12 hours a day is enough. And so it just, yes, there's grants out there, but I haven't take the time to sit down and do those grants. And then try to be politically correct, yeah. The hoops I have to jump through to get those grants is just, yeah. So they're in my business. They've been after me to be inspected, and I'm busy enough without it. But I know there's a need because people want to raise their own stuff and have it inspected to be able to sell it as area shop. So, but as for manpower, I'm lucky so far, and we've had a little struggle this summer, but we're working through it.
How many do you employ typically?
I've got 2 full-time and 7 part-time.
And Donald brings up a good point about all the hoops, you know, that you're required to jump through and everything. The other hat I wore for 22 years, I was co-owner of RCCM Cleaning Services with my husband Roland. And it's almost like you're penalized for doing well. Absolutely. It's like if you show any glimmer of a profit in any way, shape, or form, they just absolutely whack you in taxes and insurances, and it's ridiculous. And you know, you're a business owner, and Mr. Timberlake's a business owner, and I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And you know, you go to your accountant and they say, "Well, that's good. You made money. You get to pay an extra $60,000 when you file your return this year." And it's damn hard. Yeah. It really is. So
I've heard Kenny sputter about that a lot over the years.
And you know, the same issues because, you know, like the gentleman over there with Pallet One, I mean, we were recruiting entry-level, you know, unskilled workers, and they don't want to work, but they want, you know, $20, $30 an hour. But yeah, they want a management position, but they don't want to work to get there.
Right.
Is that a fair statement?
Start at the top.
Yeah.
And I've
Basically,
heard,
and
we've
for us to
spoken.
be able to pay those wages, we have to go up on our prices.
Right.
And that
And
kills you
the
on that.
community doesn't wanna pay for those increased prices.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too, if you're in a service industry, you know, you can't charge somebody, you know, $100 a square foot to, you know, steam clean their carpet because they'll laugh you out of town. So it's a very delicate balancing act, and so like I said, I know there isn't anything anybody in this room is ever gonna do about the taxes or the insurances, but it's hard.
Maybe there'd be some way we could look at what the red tape is, and maybe through the legislature, maybe somebody could help with something.
Is there anything that you two would add on, like those groups or legislation that's trying to help businesses, not be penalized for getting success? Does anything come to mind that you would speak to, or?
The legislature's not too business friendly. That would, could I say that, right? They're not really, business friendly, I should, yeah.
Well, you argue day in and day out, on the floor of the Senate, the floor of the House, and you say why not, you know why not. You sit there and it's, most of them don't run a business, and everybody thinks that every business in the state of Maine is
Making money.
is making billions, and doesn't understand that most of us that are in business are working our asses off and hardly making ends meet and trying to figure out a way to do it, but they don't look at it that way, and the majority of them come, let's face it, the state of Maine's controlled by the southern part of the state along the coast, and those people think that everybody ought to be making $25 an hour, minimum wage goes to $14.15, starting January this year. That'll be the new minimum wage, and it's gonna go up again every year, but, red tape is something that they like. They being the opposite side of the aisle that I sat on. When we went in the 125th, we repealed, I think,
101 taxes.
yeah, we did 101 taxes, but I think it was almost 72 bills that repealed the laws in the state of Maine that were on the books. And almost all of those have now come back. And some of them come back with a vengeance. So, you know, sooner or later, I think people are gonna understand, and I don't understand why they don't up in this neck of the woods now, how they can have an input. I mean, you look what happened over the Verso, and I look at the town of Livermore through my lifetime of growing up as a kid and living through it, of what it's done. I would think people would start to understand, but, you know, the other thing you gotta understand, that 45% of the people in the state of Maine, and that includes the elderly, are not employed, and that happened after COVID. People figured out through COVID how they could live and stay at home and live with, and figure out how they could survive on that system. And we allow for that to happen through the government, with different things. And, you know, you could.
We need to change it.
You could say the simple thing is to take it away. It is, but it's not gonna happen this year. I don't see it happening next year. There has to be some changes made, and until people figure that out, General John Q. Public figures that out, you're not, you know, we have to figure out how we get our message across as business people, and how we get people to retain and work for us. And the price of everything is going up. And the you know, pallet one's 45 to 48 to 50 hours a week. That work week's gone. The majority of people you want to hire now want to work 40 hours. And you look at the UAW strike that's going to happen, that's in place. They want to go to 38.
32.
Yeah, 32. And
Yeah.
but that's, if you go to Europe, that was happening in Europe 15 years ago.
It failed miserably.
And it has failed miserably, but they're still doing it. You know, but they're still doing it because that's what John Q. Public, the majority of people who wake up in the morning and go to work, that's what they want. And you can't sit here and say government's going to fix that, because government's not going to fix that. Government is the cause of it.
So basically, that's why we're here now, to
You
have a
know,
discussion.
but, you know, you have to figure out at what point do people want to make that choice difference on their own. But don't think that we're going back to Augusta and eliminate all of those things, because we're not gonna.
Okay.
You know, we put in the bills and they get voted down. I usually lose them, you know, 22 to 13. Somewhere around there is what we'll lose.
Which is completely party line. Which is,
Can I go
for a
back to-
rookie in the field, it's very discouraging.
Can I go back to ask
Absolutely.
Donna? So Dawn, I mean, I've known you a long time, you know, and you're not getting any younger, I'm afraid, you know, just
No.
like me. So, at some point, you're gonna say, I've had enough.
Yeah.
12-hour days.
Yeah, right now I've got a nephew, he seems to wanna do it, but I think.
That was my question,
he's
because
seen it, yeah.
we're talking about Livermore
Yeah.
Falls and
Yeah.
Jay, but your situation is
Yeah.
much more broad than just the 3 towns. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
if something happens to you,
Yeah.
we have very limited slaughterhouses in the state of Maine.
That's right.
And you touched on it a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
A slaughterhouse, you don't put a slaughterhouse up
No.
for $250,000.
No.
You're talking $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million
I
to
figured
build a
out-
decent.
We figured out one day, my plan ain't very big, it's
No.
just a small plan. I figured, $1.25 million.
Yeah. Would that get you to state inspection? If it was new and?
Probably.
Yeah. If you-
Well, I could be a state inspection right now if I could put up with a white coat in my place all the time.
And give them an office, a bathroom, and a,
Yeah.
and a few more regulations
Yeah,
to
that's
go
right.
with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like the choices
I
we
just
make.
want to finish up. Now, the good side of this coin is that you folks up here, I've watched it throughout the state, get together, and if you can get the local chamber and them to really work, you can make a difference. And those of us that are serving in Augusta, we go and we try to do our job, and we fight for you the very, very, very best that we can. And we really thank you for your support. But what really makes the biggest difference of all in Augusta, and I say this to everybody, is every representative, I don't care if he's a senator or she's a representative or what he is, when you call them personally, they listen. When they get the bulk emails that just come in from groups,
Oh, yeah.
they go through the round file. But when you call, we listen, and you need to call and be in thing. But I think you need to get this chamber, which is what you're trying here today, more involved, and you can have an input, an impact on what happens in Livermore Falls, and Jay. I think you really can. I've seen it up in Madison. Madison did that, has had a good impact. There are some places around that you can take a snapshot, and there's a way to get there. But it's going to be you folks. You know, we can help if you come up with an idea and come up with a plan. Sheila, Russ, whoever can bring that plan forward to the state and try to sell it. But you know, they have to know that you folks want it as a community, and that's what sells that plan. There is some good to come out of it. It ain't all bad.
Thank you. Is there a business I left out?
Oh, that's me. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, Collins Delane, Golden Pine Farm. Originally from Brunswick, and then I've been transitioning what was Randall Farm into a wedding venue, and in the meantime, just make ends meet Airbnb. And with that, it's I've only really got to know the town and some of the people within it, a few of you, and it's a great spot. It's some of the best people I've ever met in my life, and you know, from what I've noticed, it is, you know, it's a town that's entering or is in just kind of a lull at the moment, and you know, any way I can help to either drum up business or get, you know, put it back on the map, or and again, you know, I'm only 3 years into kind of knowing the area, and I'm only one man up, so it's in the wedding industry. Luckily, you know, I'm blessed where a lot of people travel for weddings and things like that, so it helps in my spread of marketing and things like that. But you know, because there aren't really many spots kind of within 30 miles, you know, it's you get Farmington or Augusta or Lewiston, Auburn, and even then, you know, they don't get space, or you know, and I try to offer competitive packages where people can stay on site and things like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been a wedding DJ for 10 years, so yep.
Are you open year round?
Yeah. Well,
Often I'm looking for venues for, you know, conferences.
yeah,
or,
so I guess it'd be the style
1 or 2
of
hour
event.
events.
Yeah, it'd be the style of event, because the barn isn't heated at the moment.
Okay.
Right now it's just getting ends meeting. But I've been talking to my HVAC guys, and it's actually, you know, like, if I can get, you know, a heads up, and you know, Will and the crew, and Alfonso, and you know, they've been helping me get the construction, but it obviously doesn't happen overnight. But if I can book the gigs, you know, I'm more than happy to do that. It's just, you know, getting it up and running at the moment. But at any moment, it's ready for rent. Like, I don't live there, so with that, any business I can drum up and things like that, I'm more than open for.
Do you have a kitchen facility?
There's the house kitchen, and then what it is we just, I'm just a skeleton, and I have preferred vendors I work with, and they've been awesome.
Yep.
And we can bring people in for anything. We got the bar on site. We got
Alcohol.
Yep,
Yep.
6 new bathrooms. So you know, everything's ready for an event, and then it would just be bringing in, you know, and a lot of it was just, I never knew what. Every event's different. Some people want stir fries, some people want meat potatoes. But with that, I have vendors that I work with, and they've been you know, luckily graciously open to it. They're like, you know, whatever you guys want.
What's your capacity?
I can do 150 in the barn, and
Yeah.
then summer, well, non-snow times, I can do, I think it's up to 220 on the septic, but we can do a 10-toe back. So with that, and we got
Cool.
parking on site, we can park up to 80. So it's been just kind of a learning experience for me just through that, because I only knew as a vendor versus, you know, a venue. But yeah, so interested to just kind of learn what everybody else is dealing with, and you know, ways that I can help, or kind of, you know, if possible, you know, drum up some new ideas.
Thank you. And, yes.
So, and just to try and turn the subject away from the introductions, unless you want to go into
Well, this is
that's-
part of what we wanted for conversation.
Okay, open forum.
Yeah.
One thought I had, just sitting here tonight, does the town have anything to offer?
Okay. Now, like, for example,
Somebody drives through here from Massachusetts, which they do. My daughter is a college student at UNE, and she works in the summer with Pauline selling ice cream. Out-of-staters come and go, right, all summer long. Is there anything that the town would have to offer? Is there property? Is there a building? Is there, has anything like that been done?
well,
A study of what's to offer?
right.
That's some of the stuff that I was going to
Yeah.
maybe lead into some of the
Yeah,
things
we're
that
gonna-
need to be done, because, no, it doesn't.
And in our conversation and planning for this forum, we had conversation about that, you know, we really had, in one of our earlier forums, maybe our first one, people talked about what were the positives about our town, and things came up about the river, and, you know, this park, you know, this potential, but it hasn't seemed to.
I know Mr. Black's family has been very successful, I know, in Wilton with some ventures like that have garnered a lot of town support, and kind of not even going to Augusta, right? You know, let's figure it out on our own. And Mr. Timberlake mentioned Madison. I think we have had 3 new customers recently in the Madison area, industrial
Yeah.
type opportunities. So somebody knows what's going on up
Yeah.
there. Maybe a
And-
liaison to try to reach out to other communities.
And farming is an opportunity to expand, you know, what you can offer to the public, and I think Joel could probably speak to that, and certainly my brother, Senator Timberlake, could, and what they've done on how the family farm has changed over the years and decades. But that's a very good question, and one that we probably should pursue. You know, how could we be able to answer that right away with
Well, I
some
mean, and
good
of course
stuff?
you have to keep in mind your current tenants as well, right?
Right.
So anytime you go out with anything
Yeah.
too crazy, you've got to keep in mind your everyday guy, that people are supporting you. But I mean, that can be rolled out, and I keep pointing at you, Russell, but I know your family has done great things with property up there in Wilton, and yeah, is there any such opportunities like that? I don't random
Yeah.
thought for you.
Anything come to mind? Yes.
Just like to speak on behalf of the comprehensive plan for the town.
The what?
Comprehensive plan.
Oh, yes.
I'm on the board. We've actually have put out a survey asking both the community and the business community to fill out a survey to help us understand, you know, asking for what everybody would like or need and so forth. And out of what we've got for a list of roughly 100 businesses in town, we've received 9 surveys back. And this has been out since April.
Where have you put it out to?
We've been at voting and handed them out. It's on the website, on the town's website. Every now and then it will come up and say, take the survey. We handed them out, I think, at 2 or 3 different voting.
There was like at least 150 that I know of that got handed out.
Is it too costly to do like a district mailer where everyone got one in their mailbox?
We talked about it, but what was it, Carol, that we decided on?
Oh, you're looking at well over $450 to mail out a district mail.
Well, did you get any good ideas from the
That's
9?
not so bad.
Yeah.
Let's go with what we got.
Yeah, I mean,
Bad.
yeah,
The
I
problem
mean, people seem to be
is
somewhat
the committee
consistent.
who's doing the comprehensive
but-
plan doesn't have, we get what, $35 for the,
We have no budget.
We
so
have
we
no
have no
budget.
monies to do
we
much.
asked, at one point we asked for a budget and then it got kind of,
Couldn't it become part of a town piece?
it could have been part of the town budget. We are under a time constraint in that it's supposed to be done every 10 years. It was done 20 years ago. In order for the town to be eligible for grants and any other things, this has to be addressed right now. So you couldn't get, the budget's already gone through for the year, so you're not going to get any more money at this point. Especially where the town budget was over $40,000 over last year in the red. So, I mean, there's that piece. There's the piece that we've handed out a lot, and they could either go online. There's the mailbox out here. It could have been put back into. They could have mailed it back to us, and they just haven't.
And I bet we handed out probably 25 to 30 business ones at voting, because we kind of kept track, and we got 2 back.
And
So-
it's the same thing that we run into in everything, every forum thing. If you do, I mean, I'm sure any group, you must run into it with the chamber, that we get such a small showing. I talked to another representative today about doing another education forum, and we talked about how critical it is to engage in conversation with our community members about, you know, parental rights and developmentally appropriate curriculum, having healthy businesses, and I mean, there's so much for us to talk about, and our conversation was about, what are we going to do? How do we get more people engaged? So I think that's a big hurdle that we have that will help address exactly what you're asking, in order to have some things available for people when they drive through our towns, other than vacant buildings. Joel?
Something super fast about engagement.
Joel, do you mind introducing yourself, please?
I'm sorry. I'm Joel Gilbert. I'm the chair of the Chamber of Commerce in the area. Jay Livermore Falls. So I took the position on about 1.5 years ago, and kind of relaunched out of COVID and all that kind of stuff, you know, reformulating. But I think we're doing a pretty decent job, I mean, for where we're at. And one thing I'm finding about engagement is, I think to do it maybe from like the town level, it might be a little bit too difficult, but if we could get this information about this survey, which I did fill out, if you haven't received it, I want to know why, because I filled it out several months ago. But if maybe you can call the chamber, and we'll try to get you connected with more of the members that they're like into what we're into, you know. So like, we're about business. If you want to get a hold of business people, call us. We'll get you connected, and hopefully we can try to get some more answers, hopefully greater than the 9. I mean, even in a meeting, I'd hand it out and say, anybody from Livermore Falls, fill this out, give it back to me before you leave.
What's your current attendance gonna be?
Yeah, so when those meetings are running anywhere from 20 to 40, our membership is growing. We kind of, some fell out during, you know, over the 2020 to 2022 years, but we are growing a little bit. It's kind of, it's real organic, it's growing, and I think we're up around 80 to 100 members. I don't know what it is. We gained quite a few. So yeah, so I can get you connected.
Do you have a list of businesses that are chamber members for Livermore Falls?
Correct. Yeah, we would have all of that.
So you would
right.
share that, or?
Yeah. What I'm trying to think if we would actually share it, or if you gave us the information and then we would forward it on to them. I just need to see how confidentiality and all that kind of stuff works, and what our policy is. So.
Yeah. When do you meet?
We meet the first Thursday of every month. We do a breakfast meeting, and that starts at 7. It's like 7 to 9 usually, and then we've got an e-board meeting, executive board meeting, that happens the third Friday of every month, and that meets at 7:30, 7 to 9, 7:30 to 9. And I can give you my email address real fast if you want, if you have something. But it's Joel, Joel, at berryfruitfarm.com. Berry is Berry.
Yeah, we did receive your...
Good.
Okay.
Good.
And where do you meet?
Thanks for asking. We're actually meeting at the community center, which is right next to the St. Rose of Lima Parish. We meet in the downstairs of that building now. And there's always breakfast, and then there's a sponsor, and we have a talk. And, I'm trying to remember what we've got here. And then November we're meeting over at Norlands. So you got to kind of pay attention to kind of what we're doing a little bit, because we're kind of meeting at some different locations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this, because I've seen the survey, and I haven't filled it out yet, but I gave mine to Sheila. But one of the things, I was never told what benefit it would really have. I mean, the planning board gets it, but what does that do? But if you say that it actually can help you get grants and things like that, that's a positive benefit for the community. It might help push them to actually fill it out.
It doesn't have anything to do with the planning board. It's a comprehensive committee, and it puts together what the vision is for the town, or what the community wants to see for the town going forward.
I'm not sure that said that on the survey.
Now, is that in collaboration with the chamber, or is this a separate group?
It's separate.
Separate.
But, like I said, if people see that they get a benefit out of it, which I didn't see it specifically stated.
Right,
They might be more inclined to actually follow through and fill it out.
A comprehensive plan is basically just a 10-year guide or blueprint or what have you, whatever you want to call it, for the town. So they're looking ahead for the next 10 years. Do you want to see increased recreational activities? Do you want to see, those kinds of things? There's a way to, more easily articulate that to, people who would be filling it out.
But
This is what we need to do.
But the reason behind it is the fact that in order to get a lot of the grants that are out there, that has to be in place.
But I didn't hear that.
I'm sure, you probably didn't, because it's one of those things that.
But people, if
we
they
were
hear
told.
it, they might respond better.
It's thick.
Yeah.
It's a cumbersome document. I remember looking at that and going, wow, so I'll have to take a closer look, but.
The business one's only 16 questions, I believe.
Oh, really? So there's more than one?
The community one is more involved, it's a little longer, but still should be able to be made out
The
in 15
reason the
minutes.
plan is so thick is because it has the demographics from the state level. We went to the state and they sent us all this material that you have to include in this plan.
You were talking about the plan itself?
No, the survey.
Or the survey.
The survey.
Yeah, the community one's maybe 34 questions, I think.
Yeah.
But the business one's only 16. And, but we didn't want to tie up business people too much, just wanted to kind of get the basic information there.
Thank you. So I'm going to hand it, John's going to talk for a few minutes about some thoughts he's had about this, and when we first started our Tri-Town Forum group of trying to bring our communities together for, to collaborate and on these different topics. So go ahead, John.
For those of you who don't know, I grew up, born and raised here. After high school, I left to pursue a career. I lived in Boston, Houston, Canada, Singapore, many different places. The one thing I see there, all of those places experienced the same downturns, and so sort of mass exoduses that this area has, right? They've all lost jobs, they've all lost employment, they've all lost businesses. But what did they do? They accepted that. They made the concessions that needed to be made, and they redeveloped themselves. They brought in new businesses. They, took the, changed the policies to make the areas business friendly. An example is Pease Air Force Base, right in New Hampshire, as soon as you cross the border. That was once a huge Air Force base, employed thousands of people, and with that, all of the small businesses that supported that, and restaurants and stores, all of that. The Air Force base closed, right? And with that, a lot of jobs. So what did they do? They created the Pease Development Board. They looked at the community, what it had to offer, and they branded themselves as a business-friendly area, and they marketed themselves that and brought companies in. Now there's several large employers that employ well over 1,000 people, so you get 4 or 5 of those in there, and it really makes a big difference. Now, granted, this area is smaller. You may not go to that scale, but that is the sort of stuff that needs to happen. Same thing happened in Fort Devens in Massachusetts. Another military base closed. They cleared the military out. They brought businesses in. They've all developed. Now, each one of these, they all have huge tax incentives to the companies that go there. So yeah, maybe we need to look at, as a community, finding ways to push that back to the state. If you confront a governor with an opportunity and they decline, then who's really, who's going to take the heat for that? So part of that is like the example Andy had. So what does Livermore Falls have to offer? Right? Why would a business even want to come here? If you get some manager that's looking for a place to build his facility, when he drives here to go to Sugarloaf with his family, why would he even think about coming here? They're not going to. We have to turn around and we have to create an entity that can market this place, right? We go in, what do we have to offer? Do we have land? Do we have natural resources? I mean, the place has trees, there's 3 hydro dams. Why can't we pressure the the power companies and the owners and that sort of stuff to make the area competitive in energy costs? It doesn't even make sense. We've got the river, there's plenty of water, there's power, there's a lot of opportunity if taken. And I think that's part of it, is it's an easy to let go, and it's going to be a lot of work to get it back. And that's really what I wanted to try and do, is get an economic development board in place. We can start doing the legwork. Let's go out to the universities. Let's get them to do some case studies. What are the jobs that these graduates that are leaving the state to do, right? Let's work on bringing those jobs to the state instead. Instead of having somebody go to Massachusetts or New Hampshire or Florida, wherever to work, let's bring that job here. Let's find out what the future jobs are going to look like and work with the colleges and the universities to train the people and get those jobs here. As part of this, everyone has stated here, finding employment. It's the same thing. I work for an engineering firm, and we've had job postings now for the past 5 years. We can't find people either. And then the ones you get, it's a junior level engineer and they want to be a senior. It's like, yeah, you don't even, it's the same problem, it's just at different levels, right? So the problems we're facing are not new to anyone. Everybody's facing them. But there's still people out there that are able to make things happen. And I think that's what we've got to start focusing on. It's easy to come up with excuses, and it's easy to just, but to make it happen, we've got to do it together, right? And I know it's tough. It's an aging community, right? It's a lot of people are getting towards retirement age. It's like, I can handle out a few more years, make it through, live pretty comfortably. It's a quiet town. I don't have to worry about all kinds of traffic. That's nice. But what about our kids and the future generations. You know, if we really want them to have a place like our parents and grandparents had, where there were jobs, there was economic vitality. You know, I can't even go to town. What am I going to do? If I want a coffee or something like that, I can go to the Berry Fruit, which is great, and we all do. But, you know, if I want to hang out with some friends at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night to chit-chat about whatever, I can't. There's nothing here anymore. And we've all seen what this place was, and we've seen the decline. And I think maybe for me, because I've been away and I've come back, I see the decline in a different way. Even while being back now, I see the decline happening, but because it's gradual, you just sort of grow with it, right? But when you're away and you come back, it's the big gaps, and it's like, oh my God, now there's one gas station. We had 5, you know, Livermore Falls doesn't even have a pizza place now, really. When there were one you could throw a rock and hit one. So, yeah, it's just really, it's going to take us here. Nobody is going to change this. The state isn't going to change this. It's going to be us. And it's only us that can make this happen. And, you know, we're all smart enough. We know what needs to be done. We've just got to start putting pressure on those that can make some changes in Augusta. And we can all work together to start building these programs to market. Hey, let's get Pallet 1, instead of 150 employees, to be 250 employees, right?
In listening to this tonight, that number one, there has to be opportunity, and there has to be the people. And I'm hearing that the manpower piece is a huge piece, and so I think somehow in the conversations that all these different entities are having, any collaboration we can do with and for each other is going to benefit our communities. And, you know, like you said, we don't give up, but it isn't a simple solution, clearly.
To speak a little bit on what he said, I will say I think we need to find a way to retain the younger generation, because I graduated in '09. Not a single one of my classmates, other than myself, that I can think of off the top of my head, works in this community anymore. And I mean, granted, my class was 61 kids, but, you know, that's 61 potential employees that the community lost. And when I look around at the businesses that are local to here, they're dad's generation. You know, they're not my generation. You know, my generation doesn't have the gumption to own their own business. And like you said, this community doesn't offer anything to the 20 to 40 year old working demographic. You know, there isn't a bar you can go and hang out with your friends and have a beer after work, or, you know, there isn't that here. So I think there needs to be some focus on retaining that, you know, college graduating, high school graduating, you know, and have some incentive for them to stay here versus, I mean, I moved to Turner, and in all honesty, the only reason I came back to work in this community is because of him, you know. So I wouldn't have come back if it hadn't been for Dad. Like, you know, so there needs to be something there.
Focusing on that generation.
Yeah, because it's my generation and the generation below me and the generation a little bit above me that is the next dads, the next dawns. You know, they're that next small hometown business generation, if we don't want to see all of the corporate stuff move in here, because that right now, with what the town has to offer, that's all that can come in here and survive.
Yeah, but that's not
big
even,
corporate,
we're not looking at opportunities there.
No, I know, but you look at, you know, a little mom and pop shop having to pay, I mean, we just hired on 2 guys that were paying more than Dad and I make, because that's what it took to get them, you know, because when minimum wage was $10 an hour, you had an employee that knew a little bit more than, minimum wage. You paid them $15 and they felt great. Well, now that minimum wage is $15 an hour, I mean, we have to pay these guys megabucks, you know, to be able to take care of our customers, because Dad can't do it by himself anymore. So it's just, the work demographic is so skewed right now, and it's my generation, is what I say it, that's, you know, a lot of the crux of the problem.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, how do you do in retaining your employees? Do they stay long-term, or do you have a...
No.
No. Really, with all the...
we have a core group of employees that have been with us, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pretty much cycle through our retention rate. I wouldn't even dare quote it with you right now, but it's not very good. And that's something we're working on,
right.
With our business.
I think
one of the things I wanted to add, so say you land a large company that is considering the area. These managers, these bosses, these executives are going to look at things like the school system. Is that manager going to want to send their child to the RSU 73, or are they going to ship their child off to a private school someplace? So I have lived in places where parents make decisions to live in certain areas because of the school districts. So I think the RSU 73 could have a lot to offer. I won't say anything else about it right now. But the location, everything that is here has so much to offer as another layer of opportunity to help bring people and other businesses in. So even other people, you may look to, surrounding communities, Augusta, Manchester, all of these, Turner, it's like, hey, that school is like really renowned for, its achievements. People, that can bring people in, and then with that you may get other opportunities. So again, that's another area that is going to take the local community to push very, 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 very hard to make change there. Because there's opportunity. There's other ways. I do video conference with my daughter with overseas. So she's learning things from other countries right from the comfort of the living room. So in today's world with Zoom, there's no reason that RSU 73 couldn't lead the state in something like that, where we're doing co-op learning. And I don't want to get into the details of all the different ideas, but just to sort of try to stimulate some thought on this of, let's work to grow all the different levels of this community.
John, just something that you alluded to about having like an economic development committee. The Chamber of Commerce has some different sections, different committees within the organization, and one of them is economic development. One thing we just did is we got Renovation CrossFit into the building at Central Plaza, so they've got a growing membership of 80 people right now. My wife and I and the kids go to it too. So before you can I interrupt you, Joel? Before you came in, there was talk. The Lyman's talked about not being able to rent that building because of cost, right?
Granted, that was
somebody you know.
10 years ago.
So what was your trick? Something changed.
Yeah.
How did you get them in there?
Well, they were up at the school, and that was closing down. And I talked to Betsy. She's a member of the chamber, and I'm like, because I had kind of perused the area a little bit, and I was like, that is the place where you got to go. If you want something quick, that's where it's going to be. So she made some phone calls, got in touch with CEI, and moved into that facility. Kind of took it a little bit on faith, but things are going pretty good.
And who's CEI?
That's Coastal Enterprise. Basically what they do, they kind of provide funding. They also provide different like coaching and different things for small business owners. So she's connected with them, who they're kind of helping her walk through the financials.
So that would be a good group to connect with, right?
Right.
Can be a small business
Right.
development groups, people that are in that business.
That's
If
right.
they knew that Livermore Falls was looking for something like that.
Yeah.
To come in, that
Yeah.
might be, and I'm sure there's more than one business in the state that does that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So what I guess what I'm saying is that if you want an economic development committee, it's here, it's now, it's in operation. Come, John, I would love for you to be on that.
Yeah, I'll be
Please
sure to
come, because
push
I'm
this
like
out.
one of the only, so I'm like, I just need more people, but
And
it's
I-
there.
I think
It's
that
already
that's
started.
something that, at least in our forum committees, and that they're not all about business, we're talking just about getting our communities collaborating together. We talked about the chamber more than once, that these seem like things that the chamber would be having as goals, or, you know, part of the process that you guys have. So that may be one of our next steps here, is to make sure that, you know, we're working well together, and maybe joining together in order to reach some of these outcomes. So I think, as what our goals were for this evening, if Senator Black and Senator Timberlake have anything, I know, Jeff, that you spoke about exactly what everybody here is talking about, things that they can do here. But clearly the state and state legislation has an impact on making that journey easier or not. Is there anything that you guys want to add to what you've heard, or take questions, you know, as a closing to this? Putting you on the spot. And you can stand up so people can see. Deb?
I have something I want to say, because I think one of the big issues, well, whether it's a business or whether it's a personal little landowner owner, is our utility costs have gone through the roof.
Oh, I
Whether
know.
it's CMP, or whether it's our sewer company, or the water company, I mean, they've doubled.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they're probably gonna go up again.
And we've worked very, very hard on that at the state level,
Yeah.
clearly.
Uh-oh, we standing up.
Russ, come on up.
I need to look.
Put you guys on the hot
I
seat.
can't see the back of.
Yeah. Come
I need
here.
eyes. My sister's a school teacher. She had eyes in the back of her head. No, I think,
I like to be.
as I've served in the legislature now along with Russ, we went in together in 2010 and we've been there together 15 years. And we can help you. We can be a big help. You just got to tell us, as a town and a community and a chamber, what you need. You know, if you come forward with a plan that I look at, and I agree with you, you've got 3 hydro dams in this community, and one of them just got shut down with Verso. And the problem is we have this 100 megawatt limit thing in the state of Maine, that once you generate more than 100 megawatts, it's no longer considered green energy, which is the most dumb thing that ever come down the world.
99.99999 megawatts.
You know, if it's, and it was done back in the King administration to move windmills forward. That's why it was passed originally. It's been tried to be repealed a number of times. We lost it by 1 vote in 2012. But it's something that I think, if this community got together, there is a real viable opportunity for the Livermore Falls and Jay and Livermore area to offer, because you could really lure some people in with the availability of low power, of low electricity
I
costs.
believe that's Madison's situation.
That's how Madison got through a lot of that, through Brookfield and through a lot of that.
Savvy.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
Savvy and
discount
some,
power.
you know,
And I
and
think the new
and
business
there's some things there, but it's gonna take Joel, it's gonna take you in the chamber. You're gonna work, and I think we can work across the aisle with the other side of the aisle when you come forward with a plan. But it can't be that vague state. You gotta come forward and say, Senator Black, Representative Lyman, we got this for a plan, can you help us with this? And when you do that, then you can go to DECD, and you can go in and have these conversations, and they'll listen to you. But if you say, hey, they got three dams up there and we want to generate power and do it, they go, yes, so is everybody else's state of Maine, you know? But you gotta come through with a plan, and I think as legislators, our job is to help you implement what you bring to us. Usually what we bring to you, you don't like. Is there anything I'm saying there that's wrong, Russ, or is that, you know, what would you add to that? I mean,
Well, I would think that this area has a, you know, economic downturn, you know, with everything that's going on, no question about that. And I would think that if you have a plan, a good plan, that there would be a lot of support to, you know, the state's not gonna, you know, they've spent their money, you know, they're not gonna hand, but they can work with you. There's grants, there's plans out there for economic development, and there's all, you know, that you can reach out to, but you've got to come up with a plan, and I would think that it would be a high priority for this area with you know, the depressed economic situation that you're in with Verso going out and over the years. I mean, and all of our communities, I mean, Wilton has suffered over the years. I mean, when I was first in business, I mean, we had Bassett's, we had Foster's, we had the tannery. We were employing 3,000 people in the town of, you know, Wilton. We don't have any of that now, and we've moved on, and you know, you've got opportunities here. I mean, there's some businesses that are come in, you know. I think you just need to, you know, between the chamber, I think you need to have a focus group that, you know, develops with the three towns. I think you've got to get a core group together and do some planning and present. You know, we're willing to help you if you come up. We can't tell you what you need.
Right.
You guys have got to tell us, you know, where you're headed, and we can find the help. We can find the assistance to develop these plans. But
I think you explained it well from the state. You know, to say that there's no money is a lie. There is money there if you come forward with a plan. And I think, I don't mean that you were saying that, but you know, they always come up with something if you can come forward with a plan.
Yeah.
I think the comp plan. So I've served on two of them in turn, and we're never going to pass the next one. It's never going to pass. We voted on it 4 times.
When you said
But the comp plan and the chamber all need to work together and decide through that comp plan and through Jay's comp plan and through Livermore Falls and Livermore's comp plan. They all have to be somewhat coordinated. And you have to work those together to create what Russ is talking about, because Russ is 100% correct in everything he says. That you have to come forward with that plan, and the community has to determine what it wants to be, what its next thing wants to be. John?
So a question with it, you've touched on it, maybe I just didn't quite understand, but this entity that I speak of, I don't know what it is, and maybe you can help and create that. Like the chamber is the chamber, but are they the group that goes in, or maybe it's a subcommittee of the chamber?
That's
I guess
what it is, yeah,
at
that's
what
what we have.
What level does the state need to see? Because I need an email on this, right?
Well, they
I
need
need a business development at whatever this is, right? So that's the thing. So when some director of manufacturing at some company receives an email from us, they can understand that it is a legit thing that has support from the state, that has support at all the different levels that are required. So
chamber is all 3 towns, right?
Chamber's all 3 towns.
And I heard you say you have an economic development group.
Right.
It's a subcommittee of the chamber.
Yeah, so that's your best bet.
We could use that as
most towns, whether they have a chamber, Lewiston, Auburn, Augusta, Portland, all these that have chambers. Once the chamber comes up with this idea and what it wants to do, it takes it to the town council or selectmen, and they're the ones that actually have to bring that forward as a community project of what they want to see. And the hardest thing to do is to get 3 towns to agree of where some business needs to go.
So the comprehensive plan, is that just going out to Livermore Falls?
Yeah.
Or is that going to all 3?
Just Livermore Falls.
Livermore
Falls is planned.
So-
The other ones probably already have theirs done.
Jay
They all
is
have to have
currently
that.
working on their,
They are.
I did reach out to their town officials, but they did not obviously show up.
Now, Joel, does the chamber have a process where they want to incorporate what people learn from these comprehensive plans within your group?
We don't have a bridge yet to receive that information, but we do try to stay in contact with the town, which Carrie, I'm going to be connecting with you here real soon, so.
You should be, the chamber and the businesses should be given the comprehensive plan, what you want in the plan. The comprehensive plan shouldn't be, you need to put the input into the comprehensive. I certainly.
Yeah, I know, but I
yeah,
was
yeah.
wondering if there was gonna be a link up. That's what I was asking.
It's gonna go the other way.
Yeah.
The chamber,
Yeah.
the chamber would usually have a large input on the commercial and the
Right.
business end of the comp plan.
'Cause
They would just come forward to the comp committee and say, this is what the chamber proposes.
Because comp plans can be a deterrent to businesses and, and to development. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, big time.
You can get a wrong, if you have the wrong comprehensive plan committee and it gets passed in the town, it can be very detrimental to the town.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, you get, like I said, the chamber and the people on the comp plan have to be working to make sure that the comp plan has the right criteria, the right agenda.
Do we have a comp plan group thing?
Yeah.
So this is what it seems like there's a few policies,
I know
and they're
that-
all sort of like.
Well,
But
to me, there needs to be some.
I think they're all, I think they're all beginning to take their baby steps, and they're learning how to walk together. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that this meeting brings together tonight is the light bulb goes off, John, and, for some of the stuff that you said, and John and the rest of them, and Carol, well, wait a second, we need to work together with this, maybe we're going about this wrong, we need to talk to them, and they'll come forward, and I think tonight will be, a bright light of tonight will be that the comp plan and the chamber are gonna at least have a conversation, whether they'll agree or not, will be another thing down the road, but.
the comp plan could say, we need to fill all our vacant buildings with low-income housing. It could.
I've worked on the town of Jay's comprehensive
Yeah,
plan before,
yeah.
and actually, as funny as it is, from the snowmobile club,
Yeah,
because I'm
right,
involved in the
right.
Andy Valley Riders, and worked with Shiloh on the last comp plan
Right.
that they did, in promoting recreation.
Right.
So that, it's a very widespread thing, if anybody's
It's-
ever
it's
looked at a
very broad.
comprehensive plan.
It's very
But
broad.
the wording is gonna be welcome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be business friendly in the
Good.
wording, and
And-
that needs to be first, and, maybe, you guys could put that together, I don't know.
The comp plan in Auburn eliminated thousands and thousands of land for development. You can't, you can only develop in certain areas, so, the comprehensive plan, once it's passed, it's the law of the land for the town for the next 10 years. So, it's crucial, and then the planning board enforces it.
What's the timeline now on the town's comprehensive plan?
We just basically get started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's the
Crucial.
expiration? What's the timeline?
Yeah.
We don't really
The
have
last
a-
one took 2 years to do.
Yeah.
well,
So,
Takes time.
Yeah.
They're not easy, they
No.
take time to do it
Yeah, I've
right.
worked on the town
And
of
don't
Jay's
think
before.
Been a while
30
since I
seconds that
have.
the state's gonna shut you down and not do anything if you don't have it right. There's a whole bunch of towns in the state of Maine who've never wrote their first one yet.
So how do you collaborate with 3 towns if they're all on a different schedule?
You
On-
don't. Livermore Falls has to do their own comp
The
plan.
chamber.
Yeah.
But the chamber is gonna help, the chamber's job will be, Joel's job will be to help hopefully collaborate a little bit amongst them and have that conversation. He's gonna pull John in.
Well, he's
gonna
already
pull
got the unity,
Other
the
people,
community
they're gonna
unity.
have that conversation, is how that works. It's how it should work.
Yeah. Deb, you've had your hand up a lot, sorry.
But I'm back on your dam.
on the
because,
dam.
well, I am, because it's still this, but, because I worked for DOT for 35 plus minus years, and DEP loves to take out dams. So we should probably be looking at a way to preserve our dams so that we cannot raise them, because they love to say we're gonna get the fish up the river. They would never say we could build a fishway, but we could take out your dam.
Oh, they like, yeah, they like
You
to
know,
do that.
and I'm just saying, I'd like to see something that would prevent that.
You'll have a pretty big warning before that happens, because they'd have to take out deer rips, and they'd have to take out down to Topsom. Oh, they got the fish ladder and it Topsom. Deer rips they don't.
Yeah.
So,
But
which
you
is
can't
down in
say-
Auburn.
And Androscoggin has never been listed as salmon.
No, it's never been listed as
So,
a big
I mean,
salmon river.
that's the,
Well, then
if
what's-
the salmon is the.
Salmon and sturgeon.
But and they took out the dams like in Augusta and whatnot, the urban ones that
Those
would
were
blow
all-
up.
And
And then
they-
they created what they were trying to save the fish, they created the thing to fill them with all this silt in the water. I mean, they said hooray.
They're trying to take out the last 3 dams in Kennebec River right now.
Yeah.
So, but that's because it's salmon. Salmon is.
But, you know, and they have no one to protect the dams.
Yeah.
So, before closing, any other questions or comments to Senator Timberlake or Senator Black, since we have them here? Yes.
Yeah, I was just a quick point about the dams. Eagle Creek does have an application into FERC to connect to the grid, so that is in the works. They do know that they just changed that ruling, that it's not first one to be reviewed, it's first completed application in is the first to be reviewed, and Eagle Creek's is complete. So, any leaning our legislative folks could do on them would be most
Is that with
helpful.
Maine DEP or is that with FERC down in
That's
DC?
FERC.
So.
And that stands for what?
Something.
The town doesn't own any of the dams.
No. I think there's 4, and they're all owned by Eagle Creek, whatever is the subsidiary, or
CMP.
whatever. No.
CMP doesn't own any of them now?
No, it's sold them all.
We don't know.
And the mill sold them.
We don't know the nationality of the owner.
But I think, just in closing, I think that a forum like this, would, and the chamber is key. I mean, so if you got a business, encourage the business to join the chamber, and communicate through that, but you still need a group outside of the chamber to collaborate with the 3 towns. I mean, and this tri-town forum, if it's all inclusive, and you're trying, your focus is jobs and economic development and whatever, along with that is everything else, like you said with your comprehensive plan, to get people here, you gotta have more than jobs, you gotta have more than land, you gotta have
Recreation.
you gotta have recreation, you gotta have, but you've got a lot of that, and so it's got tentacles, there's tentacles that's gotta go out from, to get economic development, good school system is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Huge.
It is huge.
I mean,
And it's
that's been very helpful,
it's a
in the
very-
years past with SAD 9. I mean, SAD 9
Yeah.
has been able, with the vocational
Yeah.
and whatever, we've been able to draw, I mean, people move to the Farmington, Wilton area because of the education program.
And
You
SAD
told me
73.
all along it was you.
My wife served on the school board for 12 years, maybe that was it.
Good for her. Anything left before we close? I can't thank you guys enough. It's wonderful to see so many people who are town leaders in leadership roles or involved in business. Appreciate your feedback. Honestly, we're going to have a follow-up meeting, and I'm already thinking that I want to touch base with Joel, and so that's kind of, I have lots of notes here. Yes.
I would like these people to tell us if they would like another Tri-Town Forum meeting on business development and whatnot, once we get maybe some ideas and some further work done.
You gotta follow up at
Yeah.
some point. I mean,
Well,
you
Yeah,
gotta,
we should.
but you gotta have some progress. You
Yeah.
can't have a meeting without,
Well, and I'm
without some.
gonna be
Follow
honest,
through.
that's where we're struggling. We do.
We're a small group.
Yeah, it's a very small group that does this. The purpose is to bring the communities together. It's not to be partisan at all. It's about, this is what we need in this area. Let's talk about, now tonight I actually like how much diverse representation we've had with the whole business idea and different groups that are working towards it. But it's hard to know, Russ and Jeff, you guys have been in this world of organizing people. How do you make that successful, unified step to keep this moving forward to get to an end result? Because otherwise, it feels like we get together and talk, and you don't want to just bring people out of their home. Everybody's life is busy. You want it to, you want to accomplish something other than conversation. So I'll take any, we will take any advice.
I would say that, Nick, you know, you really need to focus on some areas and get some people in from either the state or whatever, you know, economic developers or something to tell you what your options are, or, you know, and you got to have something positive that you can, you know, and somebody can tell you, well, this is what you should be doing, you know.
The concrete.
Yeah,
Like
and,
being part of the chamber.
you know, maybe you know, some guest speakers, you know, from you know.
Well, I'm guessing Joel's probably the happiest person in the room tonight, because he might have just garnered some more support for his chamber.
I want all of you guys on that thing. I do.
Yeah.
I hold a board position on the Greater Franklin Development Council as well, so when we get a plan together, I can bring it before that board, and there's even more support there. So like we have a lot of connections, and like you said, Jeff, there's baby steps, and I think we're on the cusp of it. I want us to see how much like we have gone through the downturn, we've hit the rock bottom, and I believe there are small little like we're gonna start coming up. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, just to give some hope to it is that, you know, this last was it in May, the history night. Now, I had not seen this town come alive like it did that night. There was something magical about it. I mean, it might not have been perfect. I mean, it was, you know, there was lots of issues, I guess. But the fact that people came out, and I was like, wow, there's actually people that live here, you know. And there's that, and you know, we've got the History Museum, and the Apple Pumpkin Festival is getting more and more people every year, and I think people are hungry for it. And I think there's every reason to think that we will move forward. And there's people that do care, and like Margaret Mead said, for change to happen, all you need is a few people to give a damn. So.
We've got to get a few more. Thank you guys so much.